there, Jenny Giorato. Thank you for visiting Jenny G blog. Today I'm actually going to be showing you how to make a gluten-free and vegan chocolate cake that's absolutely to die for. Everybody loves it. Everyone asks me for the recipe. So I thought I would take you into my kitchen. Don't look at dirty dishes anywhere if you can see them because I use a lot of them. But I'd like to take you in my kitchen and show you how I make this really easy cake. Anyone can do it. I measured out all of my ingredients, so I'm just going to show you exactly what I'm using. A lot of people have been asking what kind of flour and that kind of thing. So the first thing I'm going to do is take a mixing bowl and use this gluten-free flour. It's by Bob's Red Mill. It's an all-purpose flour, and it actually has garbanzo beans, potato, tapioca, white sour gum, and fava bean flour. So it's a mixture, and it's 1 1/4 cups, and so I'm going to add that along with some agave. Now, a lot of people like to use sugar, but a lot of people don't know is most white sugar is not vegan, and the reason is because it's milled with ground up animal bone in order to make sure it doesn't stick together and so it's ground that way. So unless your sugar says it's vegan, it's not, and a lot of people are leaning towards agave nectar. And let me just tell you, I love agave nectar. This one here is raw, and it's not only low glycemic, but it's vegan and it's gluten-free, and it tastes awesome. If you ever had pancakes, this is really good on it, and it's a great substitute for sugar. Just use whatever your recipes call for sugar, use half of the amount it calls for. So if it calls for a cup of sugar, you're going to want to bring that down to a half of a cup. Okay, so I have 3 tablespoons of sugar, of agave, excuse me, and I'm going to add that. Make sure you get all of it because you want to definitely have some sweetness in your cake. Okay, and then I'm going to add my cocoa powder. Now, you also want to look for vegan cocoa powder. It's the same deal as the sugar. They use ground up bones to make sure it doesn't stick together. And this one I like a lot. It's Chatfield's. It's unsweetened cocoa powder, and you can usually see the V for vegan right on the side of most of your ingredients. And this is going to be 1/3 of a cup of cocoa. So I'll add that all together. And I don't mix until I add all of my ingredients, so I'm telling you. And then I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of baking soda. So I have that here, and this is the baking soda that I like to use. It's Bob's Red Mill baking soda. I really like the product, and this bag here is almost double what normal containers have, and it's 16 ounces. It's just really good, and you can be sure it's all natural. There's nothing mysterious in the container. And then I'm going to also add my salt, and that's 1/2 teaspoon of salt. I actually put it in the container with the baking soda, but so I'm going to mix that all together. And while you're mixing, I like to use a spatula, but this is all dry except for the agave, so you might actually need to use a fork as it gets mixed up a little bit, and I'll show you that in just a second as I get going. It already smells really good. You know, get it to be pretty good. It's going to still be really dry, but just make sure you kind of like grind it in a little bit just to get all that agave dispersed into the bowl. You might see a little bit of crumbs forming, like pancake mix, how it gets a little bit sticky, but it should look dry. So there we go. And then once that's mixed up pretty good, what you're going to want to do is add all of your wet ingredients. So here I have 1 cup of warm filtered water, so I'll add that in. And I also have a teaspoon of vanilla that I'm going to be adding. Now, vanilla is really interesting because a lot of people comment to me about how my baked goods taste, and it tastes so much better than theirs. And you know what the secret is? It's high quality vanilla. A lot of people don't realize that the cheap stuff or the imitation stuff, it doesn't make your baked goods taste good at all. So this one here is just one I got from Whole Foods, and it actually is very high quality. But if you go into some specialty shops, the better quality vanilla, the better. So I recommend just searching and paying that little bit of extra to make your baked goods taste that much better. Okay, so I added the vanilla, and now I'm going to add 1/3 cup oil. I like using coconut oil. It's my favorite kind. People also ask me what kind of coconut oil I use. And in all of my baked goods, I use extra virgin coconut oil. This one here is from Giorato formula. It's extra virgin coconut oil. It does have a scent of coconut, but in most baked goods, it adds to the flavor. It doesn't take away. It enhances everything. So I recommend spending the extra money on your coconut oil as well, because it really makes a huge difference in what the outcome is. And you're going to expect to spend about $30 for a container like this. Now the key to coconut oil when you're baking is melt it first. So make sure you put a bowl of warm water, stick that jar right in there, let it melt naturally. Do not use a microwave, it's a bad idea. And it also changes the molecular structure of all of your products that you put in the microwave, so I don't recommend doing that. Melt the coconut oil and then measure it, okay? And then the last thing I'm going to add is 1 teaspoon of apple cider vinegar. And if you've looked at some of my other blogs, you know I'm a huge fan of apple cider vinegar. And this one here is my favorite. It's Bragg's, and it's apple cider vinegar. It's the raw unfiltered with the mother. And it's great not only in your recipes, but it's great for a health drink as well. So check out my blog about how to make a health drink with this vinegar. And now you're just going to add it all together. So I'm going to mix it up really good. And we'll see how we did. So as you mix it, it's going to look a little watery. And then I'll show you the final product before I pour it into my pan. And I do recommend using a glass pan. Today I'm going to be using a tinfoil pan because my glass pan's dirty and I'm too lazy to clean it. But you don't actually have to grease your pan because the coconut oil does not make it stick. So you actually save some coconut oil from having to grease your pan up. And that actually is really helpful. So then, right before I shot this video for all of you, I preheated my oven to 350 degrees. And so it's just waiting for the chocolate cake to be placed in there. We have a really good chocolate mixture. And we're going to just make sure all of the bumps and lumps are taken out before I pour it into my pan here. And let's see what I got. Definitely use a spatula and get as much of your batter into the pan as possible. And this is an 8x8 tinfoil pan, but I really do recommend using a glass pan if you can. And you can use a round if you'd like, the 8-inch or 9-inch rounds, but I find that this cake just looks better aesthetically in a square pan. Okay. So here we go. This is all you have to do. It can't be any easier than this. And I'm going to place this in the oven for 30 minutes, but I would also put it in for about 28 minutes and then take a toothpick and check the center and make sure that it comes out clean. If it does, it's ready. If not, just check every couple minutes until then. So I'm going to stick this in and we'll come back and make sure it's cooked. Okay, I'm back and it's been 28 minutes, and over that last 28 minutes I actually made myself one of my apple cider vinegar health drinks, so I'm sipping on that as I show you the rest of the recipe that we're about to do. But I'm just going to show you, as you take your cake out of the oven, you can make sure that the toothpick comes out clean when you take it out. So we have a nice cake. I'll stick the toothpick in. And it's nice and clean. So it's ready, and we're just going to let this sit here while we do the rest of our recipe. And this is the glaze that we'll be putting on top. I kind of modified it from a different recipe that I saw over the internet, and I added a couple ingredients. So what you're going to do is you're going to take a nice saucepan. I like using the Dutch ovens. They just work really well for when you're cooking sugar. And we're going to put it onto medium heat. And then we're going to add about a half of a cup of agave. But what I like to do is just add half, so a quarter of a cup, and then see how the mixture turns out. And then we're going to add Earth Balance. It is a buttery spread. It's like a margarine. It's a little bit healthier for you, and it's also soy-free. They do make a soy version. I just happen to like the soy-free version better than the other. And you can usually find this at Whole Foods or some grocery stores are even carrying it now. I live in Massachusetts and you can find this in all of our grocery stores. So I really like this as a butter substitute. You're going to add 4 tablespoons of that. And then we're going to add Giorato, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, if anyone out there knows how to properly pronounce this, chocolate chips. These are semi-sweet chocolate chips. They're gluten-free, they're vegan, and they happen to be delicious. So we're going to add 2 tablespoons of these to our mix. And then we're going to add some cocoa powder again. This is the unsweetened cocoa powder. And this is going to be, I believe it's a half of a cup. And then we're going to lastly add our vanilla. This is 1 teaspoon of vanilla. I can already tell I'm going to want to add the agave. So we're going to add the rest of the agave to this. Stir for about 2 minutes. Sometimes it takes 5 minutes, just depending on how hot the heat is. And what you want to do is just constantly stir the mixture. You don't want it to burn. My glaze coming to a boil here. You just want to stir it for about a minute as it boils, and don't worry, it's going to look a little bit bubbly, and you want that. That's a good thing, especially when you cook something sweet. So if you want to just take a look here in my pan, everything is nice tiny little bubbles. All my chocolate and buttery spread has melted together, and it looks delicious. So about a minute after it's been boiling, just shut the heat off, and now you're going to just keep on stirring it. Let it cool down a little bit, and we're going to stir this probably for about 3 to 5 minutes. The chocolate has become nice and thick, and it looks delicious. It smells delicious. I wish you could be here. It's amazing. And the best part is it's a vegan glazed chocolate ganache. And as it cools, it will be a little bit thicker and harder as well. So we've been stirring it, and now we're going to take the cake. And some people like to take it out of the pan. I don't. It's a little bit less messy for me. And I'm going to pour all on the top. So there you have it. It's a vegan chocolate cake with a chocolate ganache glaze. And in about an hour, this will be ready. It'll be nice and cool and ready to eat. So hope you've enjoyed watching me make this recipe for you. Now you know how to do it yourself. Don't get lazy. Make sure you keep on stirring that ganache for the whole 5 minutes. And you know what? I hope you enjoy. Thank you very much.